So what's a standard size game for Battletech? And building on that question, does the size of the hex map or tabletop affect the type of mechs that you play? Do certain mechs operate better, more tactically on big maps or small maps? Now, the great thing about Battletech, of course, is you can play as big or as small as you want, mechs, combined arms, and anything in between. So within that framework, I want to share with you what's a standard Battletech game for myself is usually played on a traditional wargaming table. Sometimes I have a hex map overlay, or sometimes we're just making those calculations and playing freeform. I would tend to say, maybe the size of a large dining room table, my battles tend to be very, very big and very, very involved. Now, that said, I have also played Battletech on a single hex map. There have been some times where we've been at the store, the gaming club, playing some Battletech. It might not be the main event. We might play it after some board games. And I physically don't have a ton of room because there's board games, there's 40K, there's D&D, there's other stuff going on. And I want to be respectful that everyone has a chance to play what they're playing. So we've played Battletech, a lance versus lance, on a single hex map. This idea like maybe that's the point of engagement and we have to go head to head. Now, the first thing I want to step back is there's a lot of different missions that you can play in Battletech. And I find the bigger the map, the more opportunities for missions. If it's a scouting mission or a recon mission where I have to hit up certain points on the map, obviously the bigger the table or hex maps, the better. When we play in a single hex map, those games tend to be just head-to-head, blast each other off the table. And we will fight to the death or sometimes play with force withdrawal if we want to do Battletech like in an hour or an hour and a half or less in time. Because a small map to recon, to do stuff, one hex map, there's not that much you can do there in terms of mission. Of course, in tactics, there's a lot you can do depending on the map. Now, the first thing that I notice is heavier mechs and assault mechs tend to be magnified on a smaller map, simply because the fact that they will be in range sooner. They don't necessarily move fast, but they can get into position and hunt down things easier because the physical boundaries of the map make that a possibility. In bigger games, especially if you have fast units, you can kind of avoid heavier mechs. You can kind of avoid assault mechs. They can't be everywhere at once. On a single hex map, if I can get a Warhammer or an Atlas or an awesome center position or Battlemaster center position to radiate out, then I'm in a good place. So that battle value is kind of magnified. When we move to mediums, there's some truth in mediums being the workhorse of the inner sphere. Medium mechs, there are specialized medium mechs, but for the most part, medium mechs, they've got a couple of weapons. They've got some good armor. They've got some good speed. They've got some jump capability. They kind of do well on any size map. Light mechs, I tend to find on smaller hex maps, I don't want to say aren't worth the battle value, because are we talking about, and I love the Locust, I do. I'm going to become the most feared Locust pilot in the inner sphere. But Locust versus Jenner on a small hex map, a single hex map where there's not really a lot of places to go, they perform vastly different. A Locust on a small hex map, I'm going to plink away with that medium laser. I'm going to see what I can do, but I'm extremely, extremely vulnerable because I'm going to have to engage directly to attack. If I've got a Jenner, I'm vulnerable also with armor, but I've got some significant bite with those multiple lasers in the short-range missile pack. You've got to be aware that I can mount a greater attack back and try to use my speed to get side or rear armor. But on smaller maps, I find that the light mechs are much, much less. So, turning it over to my fellow mech warriors, mech enthusiasts, mech commanders, does the size of the map you're playing on significantly change your lance composition or lance outlook?